Ever wondered what would happen if your beloved burger came with a price tag of a whopping $300,000? It sounds like a meal for a billionaire, right? Since the dawn of time, we humans have been meat enthusiasts. From hunting woolly mammoths to grilling steaks on a Sunday afternoon, our love for meat is as old as fire itself. But what if I told you that your next burger could be a world-saving delicacy? That's right, folks, we're diving into the fascinating world of lab-grown meat. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lab-grown meat? That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Well, strap in, because we're about to take a juicy bite out of the future. So, fellow omnivores, or should I say labivores, are you ready to sink your teeth into the future? Let's start our meaty journey with a juicy bite out of history. Lab-grown meat, also known as cultured or cultivated meat, was first made available for sale in Singapore, and now it's sizzling its way into the US market. Our story begins in 2013, when a scientist named Mark Post unveiled the world's first lab-grown burger. This beefy breakthrough cost a staggering $330,000 to produce. That's right, friends, we're talking about a burger that costs more than a luxury car. But don't worry, they're not planning to sell it at that price. Mark Post, our Dutch scientist, had a bone to pick with traditional meat production. He was concerned about the environmental impact of our meat-loving ways and the ethical implications of animal farming. Plus, with traditional meat, there's always the risk of foodborne illnesses. So Mark thought, why not grow meat in a lab? And thus, the world's first lab-grown burger was born. So, how does this meat magic happen? Imagine you're in the kitchen about to whip up a delicious cake, but instead of reaching for your usual ingredients, flour and eggs, you find yourself holding a handful of animal cells. These animal cells, the unsung heroes of our culinary adventure, are then delicately placed into a house where they can grow, called a culture. A culture is a medium that's absolutely brimming with nutrients created specifically to allow the growth of living cells. This isn't just any culture, mind you. It's a carefully designed, state-of-the-art environment that perfectly mimics the snug, warm conditions inside an animal's body. After a few weeks of this luxurious VIP treatment, these pampered cells transform into actual, bona fide, you can put it on a plate and eat it meat. Yes, you heard it right. Real, edible meat. And here's the cherry on top of this meaty sundae. Not a single animal was harmed in the making of this meat. Lab-grown meat continues to gain ground because it doesn't involve the slaughtering of animals for its production, and the whole process is sustainable. Now, our bovine friends can enjoy a life of leisure, grazing on grass and making milkshakes. But it's not just about saving Rexy the cow, it's a win-win for our taste buds and our furry friends. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the lab, of course, because that's where the future of meat is heading. Next up, we're going to delve into the darker side of our beloved traditional meat production. You see, as much as we love our steaks and burgers, it turns out they're not exactly doing our planet any favors. In fact, they're causing quite a ruckus. First up, let's talk about greenhouse gas emissions. They are those pesky gases that trap heat in our atmosphere and contribute to global warming. Well, traditional meat production is a major player in this game. Picture this, Rexy the cow grazing peacefully in a field. Seems innocent enough, right? But Rexy here is part of a bovine conspiracy to heat up our planet. Okay, not really, but cows like Rexy do produce a lot of methane, a potent greenhouse gas through their digestive processes. And I'm not talking about the kind of gas that gets you banned from elevators. What will happen if we can produce meat without the methane? That's where lab-grown meat comes in. Since it is produced by culturing animal cells without the need for a full-grown cow, it means no cow, no methane, no problem. Another downside to traditional meat production is deforestation. You see, Rexy needs a lot of space to graze, and that space often comes at the expense of our forests. It's like Rexy's throwing the world's worst housewarming party, and the trees definitely didn't get an invite. As forests are cleared to make way for pastures, we lose valuable carbon sinks, further exacerbating climate change. But with lab-grown meat, we don't need all that land. The meat is grown in labs, not fields. It's like moving from a sprawling mansion to a compact city apartment. We can produce the same amount of meat, or even more, without chopping down a single tree. The forests will surely be dancing to the tune of this good news. And let's not forget about water pollution. With all the waste Rexy and her friends produce, our waterways often end up looking like a post-apocalyptic swamp. This waste can seep into groundwater or run off into rivers and oceans, causing algal blooms that suffocate marine life and create dead zones. Traditional meat can also carry foodborne illnesses like E. coli or salmonella. It's like playing Russian roulette with your dinner. But with lab-grown meat, we have more control over the production process. The meat is grown in sterile conditions, reducing the risk of contamination. just like having a personal bodyguard for your burger, keeping those nasty germs at bay. Lab-grown meat is an innovative approach that swoops in like a caped crusader, promising a future where we can have our steak and eat it too without the environmental guilt. It's like the Prince Charming of the food world, ready to save the damsel in distress. So, is lab-grown meat the ultimate solution to our environmental woes? Well, it's too early to say, but one thing's for sure, it's a step in the right direction. Lab-grown meat could drastically reduce these environmental impacts. Currently, we produce a staggering 340 million tons of meat every year. That's like stacking elephants on top of each other until we reach the moon. But here's the kicker. Lab-grown meat could potentially double this production without causing an environmental meltdown. Imagine telling our beloved cow, "Hey, pack your bags, we're going on a permanent vacation." What if Rexy could go sipping on a piña colada, lounging on a beach chair, soaking up the sun? No more early morning milking sessions, no more grazing all day. It's about that sweet, sweet retirement life. And what happens to the old stomping grounds, you ask? Well, we turn it into a nature reserve, of course, a sanctuary for all the woodland friends. So next time you're biting into a juicy burger, remember, it might just be a burger that's saving the world one bite at a time. Now, you know that this $330,000 burger experiment is not just about creating a juicy steak without the moo. It's about creating a sustainable future for us all. And the best part? It's not just our cow who gets to enjoy her retirement. It's all her farmyard friends too. Now maybe this is a worthy price to pay if it will save our world. And the pastures? They become a haven for wildlife. A place where the deer and the antelope can truly play without any cows coming home. So folks, the next time you're at the grocery store staring at the meat aisle, remember this. That lab-grown meat isn't just a meal, it's a promise. A promise of a greener, cleaner, and more sustainable world. However, like every new invention, there is always an Achilles heel. Yes, indeed, even this potential world savior has its own set of challenges. Let's begin with the elephant in the room, the cost. Producing this futuristic food is like buying a luxury yacht, only to realize you've got to fill it with premium fuel. We're talking a price tag that makes a meal at a Michelin-starred restaurant seem like a bargain bin deal. It's like buying a diamond-studded steak without the diamonds and with a side order of "ouch, my bank account." Then, there's the energy consumption. Imagine throwing a Christmas light show at your house 24/7, 365 days a year. You need a great deal of power. It's like hosting a never-ending rave for your electricity meter. The energy needed to produce lab-grown meat is like running a marathon uphill in the snow with a refrigerator on your back. Now, let's chew on the taste. We've made strides since the days of our first test tube burgers, but some folks reckon it still has a certain, shall we say, lab-esque flavor. It's like biting into a science experiment and not in a good way. But hey, maybe that's just the unique savor of scientific advancement, and the taste issue should become better over time as more work continues to be done on lab-grown meat. And let's not forget about the scale. Right now, producing lab-grown meat is like trying to fill an Olympic swimming pool with a teaspoon. It's a slow process, and we're not quite ready to serve up these science steaks to the masses just yet. Lastly, there's the question of acceptance. Convincing everyone to swap their farm-raised fillets for a lab-grown alternative might be a tougher sell than a snow cone to an Eskimo. It's like trying to convince your grandma to swap her beloved flip phone for the latest smartphone. So there you have it, folks. Lab-grown meat, the potential messiah of our food system, with a few wrinkles to smooth out. But fear not, we're on the case. And while we're at it, our barnyard buddies are kicking back, enjoying their golden years. Now, isn't that a moving thought? Remember, the future is here, and it's delicious. So next time you're at a barbecue and someone asks you, "Where's the beef?" you can say, "Well, it's growing in a lab." And who knows, maybe one day we'll all be toasting to our health and the planet's with a glass of lab-grown milk to go with our lab-grown steak. Now wouldn't that be a treat?